Hey friends, how you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Ksubis, Daf 112 from Ksubis. Friends, this is it, man. Today is the last day of Ksubis. Can you imagine? Wow. We did it. Ksubis is a big one. Ksubis is serious stuff. Kol hakavod, everyone. Nice job. What do you think of Masechta Ksubis? Pretty geschmack. I mean, what do you want me to tell you? The Masechta we did before Ksubis was Yevamis. That feels like a lifetime ago. Wow. Okay. Friends, well, welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're learning Daf Kuf Yud Beis, the final Daf of Masechta Ksubis. We're talking more about Eretz Yisrael. It's pretty geschmack. Okay, we're 4 lines into the wide lines. Tanu Rabbanan, that when Eretz Yisrael is experiencing blessing, Beisa'ah ose chameshes ribo korin, that one Beisa'ah will produce 50,000 cores worth of produce. Now, in Tzoan, in Egypt, Beisa'ah ose shivim korin, a Beisa'ah produces 70 core. Titania, as we learned in Brisa, Amr of Meir says, Meir ani ra'isi, the Bigaz Beis Shan, that is on the Beis Shan Valley. Beisa'ah ose shivim korin, that a Beisa'ah makes 70 cores. Now, the best of all of the lands outside of Eretz Yisrael is Egypt. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, Kigan Hashem keretz Mitzrayim, like the garden of God, like the land of Egypt. And the best part of Eretz Mitzrayim is Yosem Mitzrayim, is Tzoan. That's where the kings were. The Ksubis, the puzzle says, that the kings were in Tzoan. Now, the rockiest area in Eretz Yisrael is Chevron. That's where they would bury people. And yet Chevron is 7 times as good as Tzoan. The Ksubis apostle says that Chevron was built 7 years before Tzoan. Now, my nivnisa, what does it mean that it was built? If it means literally that Chevron was built 7 years before Mitzrayim, that doesn't make any sense. Would it make any sense that a fellow would build a home for his younger son before building one for his older son? Shneimar, as the pasuk says, that the sons of Cham, Koshu Mitzrayim, Ufutu Canaan, that Mitzrayim was older than Canaan. No, it means that Chevron is 7 times as good as Tzoan. Now, Chevron, which is a very rocky area, is 7 times as good as Tzoan. Aval shelo b'troshim, but the non-rocky areas of Eretz Yisrael, chamesh mea, 500 cores. Right? So meaning, in Tzoan, one Beisa'ah would produce 70 core, and Chevron is 7 times as good as that, which is 490 core. But Chevron is very rocky, and the non-rocky places of Eretz Yisrael would be 500 core. Ve'hani mile shelo b'bekoseh. But now that's only when Eretz Yisrael is not experiencing blessing. But if Eretz Yisrael is experiencing blessing, that Yitzchak seeded, and it produced 100 times the normal amount. So therefore 500 times 100 is 50,000. So in good times, one Beisa'ah in Eretz Yisrael will produce 50,000 core of yield. Tanya, Amr B'Yossi says, B'Yossi saw Yehuda that a sa'ah in Yehuda, Haisa'osa Chomesh sa'in, would produce 5 sa'ah. Sa'ah kemach, 1 sa'ah of flour. Sa'ah soles, 1 sa'ah of fine flour. Sa'ah subin, 1 sa'ah of, I believe, bran. Sa'ah morsan, and also, of course, another sa'ah of coarse bran. V'sa'ah kiboraya, and 1 sa'ah of kiboraya. Okay, so 5 sa'ah from 1 sa'ah. There was a Sadducee who said to Rabbi Chanina, that it is that you properly bless Eretz Yisrael, your land, Eretz Yisrael, that Eretz Yisrael is in fact deserving of your blessings because of your praise. Beisa'ah achas iniach li'aba, this Tzeduki says that his father had left for him a Beisa'ah, mimena mishach, and from that Beisa'ah came oil, mimena chamar, and as well as wine, mimena ibor, and grain, mimena kitnius, and legumes, mimena roast, miknosin. There was also ample space for his flock to graze. A certain Amorite said to a Yid living in Eretz Yisrael, "Hi, te'elosa the kaima aguda the yardino, your date palms that grow by the Jordan. Kama gazrisu mina, how much do you harvest from them?" Omerle, the Yid said, "Shisin kore, 60 kor." Omerle, so the Amorite says, "Akatilo ailisuba achrivtua," that you've already managed to destroy Eretz Yisrael. Onan me'eve esim kore havagazinu mina. We would harvest 120 kor from these date palms. Omerle, so the Yidla says, "Oh, onanami michad gisu kaminulach." I was just talking about from one side of the date palm. But if we take both sides into account, it is, in fact, like you said, 120 kor from the date palm. Amr Chizda says, what does the pasuk mean? Ve'etin l'cha eretz chemda nachlas tzvi, that it will give you a desirable land, an inheritance of a deer. Lama Eretz Yisrael nimshal tzvi. Why is Eretz Yisrael compared to a deer? Just like this deer in oro machzik besaro, just like if you slaughter a deer and remove its hide, its hide will shrink and will no longer be able to contain the flesh. Also, Eretz Yisrael produces so much fruit that it can't hold all of it. Alternatively, just like this deer is the fastest of all the chayes. Also, Eretz Yisrael produces fruits really, really quickly. So maybe you'll say that, well, a deer is very fast, but its meat isn't very fatty. So maybe Eretz Yisrael produces fruits very quickly, but the fruits aren't so gishmak. It's a land flowing of milk and honey. Shmeinim michalav, fattier than milk, umusukum midvash, and sweeter than honey. Rebbe Lazar, kavasolak l'Eretz Yisrael. Rebbe Lazar, when he moved to Eretz Yisrael, Omer paltili michada, I've been spared from one curse. Kisamchu, when he received smicha, ordination, rabbinic ordination, Omer paltili mitarte, I've been spared from two curses. Kiosvu besoda ibra, when they included him in the council of the determining of the leap months. Omer patli mitlas, I've been spared from three curses. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, "V'ayso yadi el hanavim achos mishav v'gomer," and my hand will be against the prophets who are seeing falsehoods. Besod ami lo yiyu, they will not be in the secret of my nations. Zesoda ibor, that's a reference to the secret of the months of intercalations of the month. Uvechsav beis Yisrael lo yikasevu, they will not be written in the writings of Israel. Zesmicha, that's a reference to smicha. V'la'admas Yisrael lo yavo kimashmo, and they won't go to Eretz Yisrael. So we see that Rebbe Lazar, when he experienced these three things, he said he's been spared from these three curses. Reb Zera, kavasolak l'Eretz Yisrael, when Reb Zera moved to Eretz Yisrael, la'ashkach mabar l'mebar, he didn't find a ferry that would ferry him across to Eretz Yisrael. Nakad b'mitzra v'ka'avar, so instead he found a rope, like a bridge that he'd be able to kind of, a makeshift sort of bridge that you hold onto a rope and make your way across. And he said, you know what, I'm just going to use this if there's no ferry right now. A certain Sadducee said to Reb Zera, I'm a pziza, you very what's the word, impulsive nation, tikadmisu pumaychlu naichu, that your mouths went before your ears, right? Nasa v'nishma akati psizusaichu kaimisu, you're still very impulsive. Amale duchta de Moshe v'Aaron lo zachula anu miyema de zachinula. So Reb Zera says, what do you mean? Obviously, I'm going to do whatever I can to get to Eretz Yisrael. I'm not going to wait for a ferry. You know, a land that Moshe and Aharon didn't merit to get into. There's no guarantee that I'm going to make it to Eretz Yisrael either, and I don't have time to wait for a ferry. If there's a rope here, I'm gonna figure out how to get there using this rope to get across the river. Reb Abba menashe kifei de Akko. Reb Abba would kiss the stones of Akko. Reb Chanina misakin maskole. Reb Chanina would fix anything that was like any broken roads or anything like that. He would fix. Reb Asi. If it got too sunny and they got uncomfortable, they would go to a shady spot. If it was too cold, they would go to a sunny spot that, they wouldn't ever want to feel uncomfortable in Eretz Yisrael. They always wanted to make sure that when they're in Eretz Yisrael, they would only see the best. Reb Bargamda, Miganda, Ba'afra, B'chir Bargamda would roll around in the dust, in the dirt of Eretz Yisrael. Shenemar, as the Pasuk says, Kirotzu Avadecha Savanel, that your servants want its stones, Vesafari Chonenu, and they even love the dust. Amr B'zer says, B'zer, Amr B'yirmi Ba'abba, Dor Sheben David Ba, that the generation that Mashiach will come, Category b'Talmidei Chacham, there will be a lot of negative sentiment towards Torah scholars. Kamisa Kame the Shmuel, and when Reb Zera says, when he said this before Shmuel, Shmuel says, Tzeiruf achar Tzeiruf, smelting after smelting. Shneimar, as the Pasuk says, V'od ba Assyria, there's only going to be a tenth of the people left. V'shava v'ayse levar, and even then they will get smelted. Tani Rav Yosef says, Rav Yosef b'zuzei. That's sort of really disparaging and even more disparaging. Amr Rav Chia bar Ashi, Amr Rav Asidin kol ilnei srak sheberetz Yisrael, that in the future, even non-fruit producing trees in Eretz Yisrael, sheitanu peris, they will produce fruits. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, ki eitz nasa pirio, teina v'gefen nas nuchelam, that a tree will produce fruits, as well as, of course, figs and grape vines, but even just regular trees will be producing fruits as well. Hadron Allah Shnei Dayana Gzeris Uslikala Masechta Ksubis. Friends, what did you think of Masechta Ksubis? That was some serious stuff, but it was gewaldig. It was a lot of stuff. Shas Katan, right? Reflecting Masechta Ksubis. What do you think? Do you agree with the Shas Katan? It was everything in Masechta Ksubis. It was all the Ksubis stuff, which is cool, and the marriage stuff, which is cool, but a lot of inheritance stuff and documents and all sorts of stuff. Very, very geschmack. Friends, well, that was Daf Kuf Yud Beis of Masechta Ksubis. That was Masechta Ksubis. And I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to catch you tomorrow bright and early for Masechta Nedarim. Peace out.